I did an entire tier list series all about the items. Today, it's all about the monsters. We're ranking every enemy in Risk of Rain 2 on our tier list, including the Survivors of the Void DLC. Also, all of the clips you are going to see in this video are from my Twitch stream, so hey, you guys should go and follow my Twitch. The link is in the description, because we have a bunch of cool streams coming up with you guys involved, with just the clips, the grind, all this kind of stuff. So go follow the Twitch. Very exciting. Let's get into the video. Alright, we are starting off the bat with the Alloy Vulture. That's the most C enemy you can get. Not that fun to fight, but not bad, kind of boring, just throws a projectile at you, sometimes lands on the ground. It's an enemy, it's filler, it's fine. Then we have the Alloy Worship unit down in D. I actually kinda like the idea of spawning a boss to get a free red, but it's a really annoying fight. That shield, especially once Eclipse 7 comes around, is like constantly up. Its little drones are irritating. It's just overall not super fun to fight. It's not awful, but I'll put it in D. One thing that is awful to fight is the Alpha Construct. Trash. This enemy doesn't move. The enemy's gotta move. Okay, that's such a big part of Risk of Rain 2, having the enemies come seek you out. Nothing worse than having credits wasted on a stage by having a group of Alpha Constructs over on the edge doing nothing. Not to mention, their projectiles ricochet, meaning you don't know where they're gonna go. And they do, quite frankly, more damage than they probably should. I might get hate for this one. Aurelionite's a C. Okay, Aurelionite as an enemy is kinda lame. It's just like a Stone Titan on a little bit of steroids. You gotta go to the fun place to get him. It's cool that you get him on your team after you defeat him, but the enemy itself is just not that fun. Beetle Guard, I'm gonna put in B. I think Beetle Guards are fun to fight. I think they're strong, but they're nerfed by not having any sort of aerial attack. I think they're a really good addition to a Beetle Queen fight. I like them and they're solid. Beetles, A tier. Don't you just love a beetle? Easy enemy, easy to deal with, good design. A beetle always feels good. Beetle Queen, however, D. These fights can get so out of hand early game if you have Beetle Guards running around. You don't have the damage for it. Also, I find it irritating when enemies have attacks that you can't dodge. And Beetle Queen has that little bee thing that comes out and gets, and you just, it doesn't do anything necessarily, but you can't avoid it, and that is annoying. Bighorn Bison, I actually kind of like, but it doesn't really have that much to it. So I'm going to put it in C. It's kind of bland. It just charges and then it stops charging. So there's not really a lot it can do. Blind Pest, going in D. Hate these things. They do so much damage. Their range is so high. They're actually relatively easy to avoid. But in big groups, these will end your run quick. Blind Vermin, also the same thing. They're just so fast, you know? They're so wily. They're hard to hit. The Pest and Vermin, if you have an enemy that's named Pest or Vermin, don't add it. It's not fun. The Brass Contraption, or as I like to call it, the Bronzong. I'm putting in B. Brass Contraption B, Bronzong, Bell Boy. Relatively simple enemy. I know I've given a couple of shit for being a simple enemy, but Brass Contraption is fun. It moves slow. Attacks are easy to dodge, but they're still scary, so what it lacks in mobility and speed, it gains up for in power. So pretty balanced, and I think a good addition. Play Apothecary, I'm gonna go C. They do a lot of damage. They're not super fun to fight because they kind of just do the same thing, but there's not a lot of dynamic to them. You'll see I like dynamic enemies that change how you interact with them, and this doesn't necessarily do that. Play Dunestrider could go C or D. I'm personally putting it in D because I often find myself in a bad cycle of when he throws out the little pots on the ground, it'll hit me, and then the next one will hit me, and the next one will also hit me, and then the fourth one will hit me, and then I'm dead. And that's not awesome. So I'm going to put that in D. I also think just the boss item from it is pretty lame, so that could be upgraded. I do think it's a dynamic enemy, which is kind of fun, so it's not an F tier, but personally I don't like Dunestriders. Play Templar, I'm going to put up in B. They're a really strong enemy if you don't know how to deal with them. So if you're very early in Risk of Rain, you might say, these guys throw a million projectiles and like, how do I beat them? I find it fun that when you get close, they can no longer shoot you, they have to push you away. That feels dynamic to me because you have to play around the map based on where they are, get close, get far. Kind of a fun enemy to deal with, but they're not too strong if you know what you're doing. Elder Lemurian, I gotta put up an A because it's iconic. They're very scary. Okay, but personally, the design, incredible. The attacks, very solid. Having that long range, short range, they're pretty quick too, especially up in, that middle eclipse. But they're your perfect, really scary enemy. An Elder Lemurian pops up, you're like, oh shit, and you run. That's what they're supposed to do. That's not what a blind pest is supposed to do, but it still does it. We got Gup, we got Geep, and we got whatever the other Gup, Geep, and Goop. I don't know what they're called. All the Gup family, S tier enemies. Gups are so good. I love them, and they're amazing, and they're great, and they can't do anything wrong. They're so satisfying for proc chains. They're very strong if you, especially just Gups. Very strong if you get near them, but they can't do anything other than that. They're perfectly designed. They're little squishy guys, and they're just awesome. Grandparent putting down in D. I don't think it deserves an F, but I think the rock throwing, kinda boring. And the giant laser sun thing that kills everything nearby is cool because you can use it for your own wave clear to clear out enemies, but there's nothing worse than fighting a grandparent, not having the damage to kill it fast enough, and it obliterating every drone that you have. Oh, it's terrible. That part sucks. I don't necessarily think it's actually a bad enemy. It's just kind of hard to fight. It can ruin all your drone progress. Greater Wisps. I enjoy a Greater Wisp. Am I weird for that? Am I weird for enjoying a Greater Wisp? Their damage isn't that high, but they for some reason carry a high threat level. Like, they just look great. They're just well designed. I think their power is solid. They fit well in like a group of enemies as like a, oop, that's a problem. I just think it fits great. Grove Tender, I'm gonna put in B. I think its attacks are fun, although I don't really, to be honest, full transparency, don't really know what the chain attack does, because sometimes it just brutally murders me, and sometimes I'll be in the middle of it and nothing will happen. The chain attack is cool, the wisps are scary, but you can shoot them away, and the boss item is what makes it all worth it. The Little Disciple is just so good. Whenever I see these, I'm very excited to see them. The Hermit Crab, I'm going to put in D also. I'm hesitant to put it there, because I kind of like and hate the Hermit Crab. It's kind of fun to have to go search around for them because you know how dangerous they are and you never know when one of those mortars is going to come down. But at the same time, it hides in a corner. It's kind of a pain to go find. It's not very dynamic, so I'm going to put it down in D. Imp Overlord, I gotta give it an A. Just the attacks the Imp Overlord has are very fun. You have to battle around what it does instead of what you want to do. Something like a grandparent, you just attack it. You do whatever you want. Imp Overlord, it's going to teleport to you. It's going to slam on the ground. It's going to throw the bleed spikes at you. You have to be very dynamic around it. Very, very fun. However, an Imp, I'm going to put down in C. I don't think it's terrible, but they just, every time you're about to get that perfect band proc on like a loader punch or a Huntress Ballista, oh, it's gone now, and you missed. It's just like, you're like, it's so unsatisfying to fight them because they know when to teleport at the exact right moment. Jellyfish, I'm actually going to put right next to the Imp because, let's be honest, very boring enemy, but similar to the Wisp, they're pretty easy, and as long as they don't sneak up on you, it's really not that big of a deal. It's lazy that they just go up and explode. There's no real, attacks that they do, but it's really, it's a C. It's the definition of a C. The larva joining our friend down in F. These things are so hard to hit. In the air, they still home in on you, so there are plenty of runs. If you just don't have enough speed, you're dead. There's no possible way out. They just move too fast, and you cannot get out of the way. And if there are 4 of them on all sides of you, you can't kill them all before they slam. It's just, The normal Lemurian, A tier, perfectly designed. You have the ranged attack, you have the close attack. It's the perfect, add enemy, especially right on stage 1. Just a great addition to the beginning and ends of a run. They fit in anywhere perfectly. Wisp, the same way. I just think it's iconic. You can't say no to a Wisp. They're so simple. They're not meant to be a focal point. They're meant to be an annoyance, but in a good way. The Blind Pest is too strong to be an annoyance, but a Wisp is so weak, it's just kind of like, oh shoot, now I have 13 of them, I have to deal with this. I'm going to put the Lunar Chimera Exploder in C. It's obviously all the lunar enemies are really strong, and that's the scariest part. But how annoying is it when they explode in like a soul pillar? Now you gotta leave the whole soul pillar, wait until it charges all the way back down to 0. You can't go, oh my, it's probably a problem with pillars, let's be honest, right? But they also move around so like frantically, they're hard to hit. They just kind of shoot at you a couple of times. Little boring, we'll get over it though. I think a lunar golem, however, I think it's beautifully designed. I think it's kind of a fun enemy. They move really cool. I think it just looks great. They're very strong, but they look like they're strong. Same with the Elder Lemurian. It's like, that's what they're there for. Those are the big guys on the moon. That's what you gotta look out for if it wasn't for the Lunar Wisp. I wanna put it in F. I really do. I'm gonna put it in D, just because they do have a couple different pieces that are dynamic. They got the large ball they throw at you, and then the, you know, the mow down machine gun of death that takes me out every run. But the focus should really be on the golems. I feel like that's the guy that you're like, ooh, that's the strongest. No, it's just this weird little wisp thing that'll just run you down at a moment's notice. Magma Worm, I'm gonna put up in B. The boss item probably takes it up from a C. It doesn't really do much, but it's so iconic in the Risk of Rain franchise. They're actually kind of fun to fight. In later Eclipse, they can just one-shot you by pushing you into the ground. You take a bunch of fall damage, but I think they're very solid. The Malachite urchin thing, don't really know what it is. I hate Malachite. I think it's a fun way to make looped runs difficult, but I don't run into them enough to like really make a decision. I don't think they move. I think this particular enemy just sits there and is like, when you bump into it, you get Malachite. It's an F, but really just because it's not really relevant here. Mushroom, I think we're gonna go F2. The fact that they do chase after you, but they stay far away. It's similar to the Hermit Crab, but instead of just hitting you with their projectile, it's like a lunar exploder. Oh no, now you cannot access this chest for 10 seconds. It's just like, I don't like it, and I want them to be gone. And they're like really tanky for some reason. Mithrix, S tier. Mithrix and Gups, baby. That's what it's all about. Mithrix, the Mithrix fight is so good. It's so iconic, so good, so well thought out. The fast enemy, like a Voidling, right, is big and slow. Or a lot of, like, Dark Souls bosses are big and slow. I know not all of them, okay? I don't play those games, but I know. I know some of them, okay? But big and slow bosses like a Grandparent or a Beetle Queen, I just don't think are as fun as one of the quick, agile, but still strong bosses like a Mithrix. You really have to prep your whole run for the Mithrix fight in order to have a good fight, and I think that is key. Newt, S. Newt is S. Who doesn't love the Newt? I mean, obviously, doesn't do anything. He does jack shit all day, and then when you hurt him a little bit, he's like, get out of my cave. You know, he's like Shrek trying to get you out of a swamp. But iconic, you get a really good sense of your damage. It's just fun. You know, who doesn't love a good Newt test? Overloading Worm is also gonna go B, and it's actually not for the same reason as the Magma Worm. The Overloading Worm gives you the Charged Perforator, which bumps it up even more than the Magma Worm, but it's way scarier and way harder to fight, so that bumps it down, but it evens out to about the same spot. I think the design is incredible. I think, like, the scenario for it to spawn being so late game, like, you have to Mountain Shrine, Stage 5, or loop is really fun. Getting that Charged Perforator just feels so good. The Parent, I'll put it in C. Pretty mid. Teleport Slam. Teleport Slam. They'll catch you off guard, but the attack is so choreographed and, like, predictable that it's not that bad. They kind of make for a good, easily dodgeable, but still annoying, difficult enemy. So, kind of just a mid-tier. Scavenger, I'm gonna go A. I think it's a great enemy design. I think it's a fun concept. They collect items. They become an immediate threat because as you don't kill them, as they live for longer, they collect more and more items. And the fact that it's such a difficult enemy, but such a good reward immediately after killing it, where you get all those items, I think that's stellar. Now we have the Soulless Control Unit. That's going to go in C. It's above the Alloy Worship Unit, because the Alloy Worship Unit is simply scarier in every way. And the boss item, I know from both, is the same thing, obviously. It's very good, but the Soulless Control Unit is just a little more doable, if you will. But the Soulless Probe, these little bastards, these little fucking guys, Joe, what are we doing here? I mean, they're really not that bad. They just rub me the wrong way. Their little laser, how it just homes to you sometimes. Sometimes it's locked on, you can't get out of it. And they're just like annoying. And they're not even that bad. Realistically, it's a D, you know? But it's just, oh, I hate them. Golem, A. Absolutely an A for a Golem. Again, that ranged and close-up attack, they're really slow, but they're also kind of tanky, so it's just very well balanced. Also iconic, just all those stage 1 maps, fighting it just feels good, and you can almost always dodge it if you have most survivors, so it's not super powerful, but they can overwhelm you in groups. Stone Titan, that's a D. That's a D. I do like how they kind of predict where you're going to go with the little rock slam on the ground. But the laser that homes to you and you cannot get out of, you literally just have to run and hide and wait. That's boring. It's boring, and then if you don't go and just hide behind a corner, you're just done. So it feels a little silly. It's not very enjoyable to fight. It's just kind of there. Void Barnacle, I'm gonna put in D. They don't move, it's boring. Their little homing missiles hit you, but they don't do much. They don't collapse you, which is fine. They're just pretty lame altogether, so we're gonna keep them there. Void Devastator is an A. Are these things not cool? I mean, just the design alone is awesome. They're also, like, they're supposed to be very scary, but they're actually not that scary to fight. And the explosion afterwards is so satisfying, that's gotta count for something. The Void Infestor is going in C. I actually like the idea of the Void Infestor. It's very fun that when you kill a voided enemy, pops out and tries to take something else over. But there's nothing more annoying than when it's on its 16th enemy and you still can't kill it because you're on like a weird survivor that can't quite hit it, or you just have bad aim like me. It just, sometimes it's so frustrating. I'm like, oh my god. Void Jailer, I think I'm also going to put down in D. We got a big D tier. Okay, we're running out of room a lot, but Void Jailer gonna go D. For the reason of, why does he always hit me with the jail cage? It's almost never killed me, to be fair. It's only a couple times has that, like, Tentabobble effect actually got me. But I'm, like, always behind the rock, and it still gets me. So what's that about? We got 4 enemies left, and they are some interesting ones. Z Construct. So I actually I'm kidding. It's F. It's so simple. I might make a new tier for Z Construct, because it's just icky. It's too fast. So what it can do as you spawn it, it's just like, oh, actually, peace. And it goes 100 miles away. What do you do as mercenary? If you don't have shurikens or slicing winds, you cannot fight this thing if it's far away. It's just so fast, moves so far away, just gets out of your range completely. The laser that pretty much tracks you is irritating, and the shield. You're telling me I just have to stop fighting you for a little while? You can't attack me, I can't attack you? What kind of boss fight is that? Oh, hey, time out. Everybody just pause. Let's just take a break on the boss fight. No, it's lame, and it's going in F. Void Reaver might surprise you. Void Reaver is a B. Void Reaver is a B, albeit a very boring enemy. Doesn't really do much. Its attacks aren't scary. All the attacks do are a little bubble on the ground. Doesn't really do much. But Void Reavers aren't meant to be fought. They're meant to be killed. If you can put a Void Reaver in the right spot and then kill it, it becomes an ally. And I think that's really cool that an enemy can become something that you strategically use when you kill it. And it's easier to use than a Void Jailer because the bubble goes kind of wherever. And easier to use than the Void Devastator because it's just easier to kill and there's a lot more of them in a run. I just think it's very cool. Wandering Vagrant, I'm also actually going to put in B. Call me crazy, I think it's solid. The Wandering Vagrant, again, I said it a million times, a dynamic enemy. A couple different attacks, the slow big one, the quick little bubbles it shoots at you, and then the explosion, which you have to hide or somehow defend from, but you have so much time to do it. It's just very balanced, it feels like. And, fun fact, if you didn't know, if you're playing like a bandit or something and want to be behind it, if you're playing like a bandit or something and you want to be behind it, there's a little red triangle and that's the front. So there you go, fun fact. And then to top it all off, the final boss of the game and the Survivors of the Void DLC, Voidling. Oh, hey Z Construct, How you doing down there? The Voidling fight is so bad. It's so bad. And it's the exact opposite of the Mithrix fight. The Mithrix fight, he's very strong. It doesn't necessarily one-shot you with everything. Like a swipe, not going to one-shot you. The Voidling one-shots you with almost anything. It has an ability that's just a black hole, and that'll instantly kill you. That's literally what it does. Doesn't matter what damage reduction you have. The plimps, which you cannot avoid, that's again annoying, not being able to avoid an attack, we've talked about that. And then the giant laser thing is I think the only redeeming quality, except it's perfectly aimed at you, and the end one is an area of effect. So if you don't have like the movement speed to move faster, you should by that point, but if you don't, you're just dead. And then I forgot, even the last attack is that stupid twirly laser of death. That thing will just rinse you. It's like, it's way too strong. It doesn't move. You have to, it's the only reason it really exists is when you have an absolutely broken, probably looped run and want to test out how good it is, that's when you go to Voidling. But in a normal vanilla run, 1 or 2 loops, why would you ever go? You've already had the best boss fight of the game in Mithrix, and you're gonna go fight this just damage-inducing rock and just see if you can survive all of its attacks. The plasma shrimp is the most annoying part because you can't avoid it. I think if you can avoid attacks, that makes things more fun. So Voidling is just lame. That just about does it. This is the with Survivors of the Void DLC included monster tier list from Trento Mento. Based on this list, you can probably tell what I die from a lot and what I don't. But this is the list, okay? And if you disagree,
you are wrong and incorrect and also not right.
But I would like to hear if you want to move anything around in the comments, things that you prefer, things that you don't prefer, let me know. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.